been chosen?
Mhm.
What are the challenges from the law enforcement, what you are into as a lawyer or as an attorney? What
Sure.
is your career? How did you get into this journey? And what are the challenges you see day in, day out?
Yeah.
And are there any challenges you see from the Indo-American community being, coming in, any of the, what do you call, any of the cases, what do you call in the word in English? Convictments?
Oh, conviction.
Conviction.
So I won't be able to speak about that because then that would be particulars of the case.
Okay. So
And
how-
that won't be something that the office is telling me not to. That's by law. I can't get into any specifics of the case. So
So what kind of convictions people get into? Can you tell discussion on a broader level or not into
I could tell you the kind of stuff that I do for the clients that I work with, and the clients would be the state agencies because I'm a lawyer for the state. So I work a lot with the Department of Transportation. I work a lot with Department of Housing and Community Affairs. So when we work with that, I can't get into I can talk about them, but I can't get into the particulars of, the applicants or what's happening there or anything. I could tell you exactly what we do for those agencies,
Absolutely.
right?
I get that. So what we will do is generic discussion we'll do about
Yeah.
your role, what kind of agencies you deal with
Sure.
day in, day out. And I can also ask about how many Indo-American lawyers, the attorneys, and I can ask more about the Bar Council comparatively to India, how it works here. And
Sure. See, I don't know so much about, if you want to tell me how it works for the Indian and I can offset it for how it works for the American and we could do that.
You can only compare in India. You can always say that, I'm not familiar because I have
Yeah,
not
right.
done the law practice in India, but
Sure.
I can tell you from the American. So I can also ask, hey, any of our Indo-American communities in the Bar Council, how this Bar Council is there. And do you have any organization for all the attorneys across the, like doctors have the API, which is American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin.
Right.
So those kind of things definitely might help.
So do you mean at the state level or do you mean at
At a
the?
state level, at a national level, whatever you can. But if you don't know, we can always research and at least a topic to be discussed.
Sure, yeah. So the American Bar Association is what you become a part of when you get BART, which is what you sit for generally. So I can speak about that. At the state level, there's different chapters that, like for SABA, for example, it's South Asian Bar Association. There is a Georgia chapter that we have.
Okay.
And Mr. Chug that you met at the other place that he was the MC for the nonprofit, he's founded the SABA chapter in California. So SABA is basically South Asian Bar Association. I am a member of that.
And the Navneet you're saying? You're saying about Navneet?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I
He
want to
founded
get
the
him as well,
California.
Anil. You need to connect me with him so that I can get him onto the show.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I will get him through. He of course is in California, but that's not a problem for you, I'm sure.
No. I wanted to keep it simple on Zoom because no high expenses. I don't want to ask money. That is the last thing I wanted to ask, but only to support the production. If they contribute, that's fine. Otherwise, I don't want to touch money. My interest is only to bring people, to motivate, to influence, to know that any help to the Indo-American community. That is what the motto behind this. No, nothing else. I'm just doing on my own, all my due diligence, everything, it's on my own. I don't want to ask anyone for help.
Really good that you're doing it. It's very, very good. And I was going to take a minute to mention it. What you do is actually just as influential, if not more, than the positions and everybody that you actually, interview and stuff, because this is for the public and this is for the community. And this is going to go further than just one person.
The other day, another Chris Harley I did about the elections. He was the director for Georgia for elections in 2016 or 2018, whenever we had the last time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just brought him onto my show, and there are a lot of hassles for media when they are coming on the show. You have to take official approvals from them.
That's right.
Yeah, I took them. I told I won't touch unnecessary topics. I only wanted to touch which is useful to the community, how they need to be readiness of the election,
Right.
what kind of arrangements the government has done for the election. If
That's
someone is
something that we have.
what he can do.
Since
All
you mentioned it, that's, and I'm sure he covered it, but since we have that on our website, there's direct links to registration, direct links to checking your ballot and making sure which elections are coming up and everything. But of course, I don't want to touch it. I'm going to say general resources are on our website, and that's law.georgia.com or law.georgia.gov, actually. So everything else is there, but I won't get into, because I'm definitely not a expert on elections by any means. So
you have your own practice, Anna?
no. I
So
work
this is
with
okay.
I work with the office, right? So it's at conflict. So when I became a lawyer, when you get sworn in after you pass your bar exam, you take an oath to uphold the state constitution and the United States Constitution, and in the way you practice law. And when you join the Attorney General's office, it's part of our policy and handbook that you don't take any conflicting cases against the state. So if the state is a party to anything, you can't practice on behalf of somebody else that is not the state, because your oath is to the state.
So basically, this job is like a full-time job.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because sometimes I feel that if it is an elected position, most of them will not pay. Right. For example, municipal councillor, Johns Creek Council, City Council, right? They are not paid. They pay minimum wage, but they have a limited hours. They work for a week, and then they can go outside and do whatever the business they want.
Oh, no. So this is full. So the AG, and I'll make this clear when you ask me the question, the AG himself, the guy who's, our boss, he's elected. Everybody else is, and I'll go through the process of how I was interviewed and stuff. So you get interviewed at the section chief level in the division that I'm at. Then you get interviewed by the deputy attorney general, who oversees the main division that I'm a part of. And then you meet with the AG and you go through a round of interviews with him. And then once that is through, then they send you an offer letter and such with the way that, and not that I want to get into the salary or anything of it, but everything at the state level is budgeted, right? So a certain entry level position will always be offered the same amount.
Yeah. And also definitely the other question would be, what is your suggestion for the youth to take up these law positions, right? The law and in this department, most of them will go for engineers or doctors, right? In our community.
Yeah.
So it's important in being in this country. We also need to have equal attorneys in the system.
Right.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask 1 second.
Sure.
Yeah, Lalesh, ready? So it is 10:56. Another 2 minutes, we'll start. Okay, I'll call you and then we can start. Okay.
And you can feel free, Praveen, if I am going further into something or if I've stopped talking, you can feel free to ask me questions on the fly, whatever occurs to you. And if I have the answer, I'll answer it. If not, I'll take a second and try to think of something.
No worries. This is a free flow. I think it should be like an open heart.
Yeah. So I actually really liked all of your questions, and I put most of the emphasis on the fact that the Indo-Americanness of this and how important that is and how important it is to make our community go even further than just the Indo-American identity. So I mostly wanted to talk about that because at the state level, we, not that we see it in our cases or anything, but you start to blur the lines. When I come into the office, I really don't feel like I'm being treated as a female of Indo-American descent. I'm just another AG, just like someone else is an AG. So I want to make that clear because I know people, at least in the government sector, seem to think that there's a lot of discrimination and racism and such. I have not felt that at this office. So I definitely want to, make a point to say that.
You're
A lot of
lucky.
people don't.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think these things are coming up more because I'm into media. People come to me and talk about the racism, caste, and all those kinds of.
Right.
I feel weird, but the fact is, still the caste and everything we maintain here in the US too. That's the problem.
Exactly.
And,
exactly.
second thing is, most of the Indo-Americans are very successful people in this country, but
Right.
the coordination is little less, I feel. And,
Absolutely.
if you see the salaries or the lifestyle what we do, we can say that we have a whole heart to spend a lot of money. We earn a lot of money. We are professional, but the only thing is missing is we don't know where to go if something happens. Right in this country, until and unless you don't get into some problems, you don't know the worries. But if your life stops, if something happens to you, then the community comes into a play. And most of the people only know of the organizations, they do cultural activities, but they do not know what else they do to support. Right, for example, if something happens, you need to send the body to India, or you met with an accident, or your college has some fraud, so whom you need to approach? It's a mess for them. So the reason I picked from the pandemic this too, I'll be observing in the LinkedIn, whoever are key people, I wanted to go to them and say, hey, can you come onto my show and tell what you have achieved? So that is where now people started respecting, and they are learning from my flyers. Okay, Anil Patel exists in Attorney General. Okay, if something happens, okay, they can go to Praveen or Anil, and Anil or Praveen can channelize if they need something. That's the only thing they get. I'm good. I'm not worried about viewership. I'm not worried about money. I'm not worried about anything. That is what I wanted to bring in the community.
No, it's definitely a noble task, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I spend a lot of time, at least, between me and you might have seen like 3-4 hours we might have spent here and there, 5 minutes here and there.
Yeah. But it's doable. Exactly.
It's doable. If you have a will, you can do. If you don't have a will, you can't do anything.
You can't do.
If you think it's waste of time, then you cannot do anything in life.
And you do this as a addition to your general, everyday job task, and then family, and then everything else. And so it's really good.
Anil, this doesn't give anything. I can't make this for living.
No, of course not. Of course not.
No,
of course not. I didn't think so.
Okay, I think we are ready now. I'll call him and then we'll start.
Sure. The lighting and everything's okay?
Yeah, perfect. Okay, Lalesh, shall we start?
One second.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I have a team in India who helped me from TV5.
And that's fantastic.
Oh, I
thought he was here. I thought he was here. Yeah. So Mana TV is that on YouTube channel only, or
yes, it is on YouTube. It is also on the platforms like Yup TV, Sling, and also Dish.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very well connected. Actually, there is a lot to do in this channel because it is exclusively for US, and people recognize Mana TV. So I'm also building my contribution to make it more famous.
Oh, that's fantastic. See, we go off of ever since regular TV was not a thing.
Okay.
Sorry, please.
Ready, Alalesh?
Sir, ఒక నిమిషం కౌంట్ డౌన్ చెప్తాను చెప్పాకనే స్టార్ట్.
I blocked you for Saturday.
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had to come into work today because I have a few things due next week anyway. So, yeah, yeah. More than happy to do this. You are only going to take 1 hour of my day. I'm going to be here until 6 or 7 today.
Yeah, well, usually it takes 40 minutes for sure.
Oh, very good. Very good. Perfectly fine.
Ready, Laresh?
యా సార్ ఒక్క నిమిషము ఈయన రఘురామ్ కూడా కనెక్ట్ అవుతున్నాడు అట్లాగే నాకు రెండు అవి కనెక్ట్ అవ్వట్లేవా ఏంటో. ఒక్క నిమిషం. ఇంకా చెప్తాను వస్తున్నా ఒక 2 minutes వేరే వరకు ఉన్నాను.
Maybe I wanted to start slowly face to face as well.
Yeah,
Sometime it is possible in Atlanta.
sure.
I need a studio basically.
Yeah,
Just thinking, working out. One of the person offered a free space, but I was just thinking, still I need to make a lot of money to decorate and do something.
Unless you just have a backdrop, and then that won't be an issue. I'm sure you can rent
Basic
spaces.
infrastructure like cameras, 2-3 cameras.
Right.
A lighting are minimum base, and then 2 table and a nice table should be fine. And back you can put green screen, then we can change whatever we want.
Right.
But still, it's quite good expensive, and you need to have someone who can manage all these things. That's why I'm scared.
Yeah.
Once you get into that, then you have to start advertisement, ask money from people and all those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. With the cameras and the crew and everybody editing and all that. Yeah. Then you're deep in.
Expensive in US.
So when did you move here, Praveen? If you don't mind me asking.
Pardon?
When did you move here?
2014.
Okay.
So I bought a house. I moved to Georgia 2014, but I came to Atlanta 2016.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I bought a house in Cumming and all 2016.
Okay.
So I lived 5 years in Denver, Colorado, and then moved to Georgia.
Really? Okay. I love Denver.
My wife too loved Denver, but unfortunately, because of the job, we got to move.
Yes.
And I'm okay, but she's not. She still feels that Denver is a good place to live.
Your wife?
Yeah.
Yes. I agree with her. I always support that. I tell him that if we ever have a place that's not in Atlanta, then it has to be in Denver.
Oh, is it? You are there? You lived in Denver?
No. I just go back often. I have a few friends there, and I go back often because something or the other, or certifications or something, keeps me going back. Or so.
1 minute. Then what is the solution? It is already 6 minutes.
26K connect అయినాం మనం.
Just waiting. Fast. Make it fast, Lalesh.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, Anil, some power issues there.
No, that's completely fine. I have time. I am okay. You have me.
So you go to Denver, you said, right?
Yeah. I go often for some reason or the other. I every year at least have gone once, whether it's for my work certifications and I probably choose to go as well. But a lot of my friends have had they're getting married, and we go, for a trip beforehand, or during the winter times we go to ski and stuff. So in some reason or the other, we'll go.
That's nice, beautiful place. Somehow I didn't learn skiing or something. We never explored or there.
No, I learned there. So once we landed in Denver and we went as far as Aspen, and they have that flight that goes there 30 minutes, and you land straight in Aspen, that small airport, and we stayed at a resort, and I learned skiing that morning. Like they teach it to you in half a day, and it's nice. So now I try to go back.
I still had a house after coming to Atlanta 2 years. Then I thought I don't want a house which I don't see or go often. Then I just sold it.
Right. Oh, over there you still kept it.
I sold it off.
Oh.
Harish, ఏమైంది?
రైట్ సార్ తమిళ వింటాలి.
Yes.
తమిళ వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఒక సెకండ్ ఒక 2 సెకండ్స్ తర్వాత స్టార్ట్ చేయండి.
Okay.
3 2 1 గో సార్.
Welcome to TV5 and Mana TV. You are watching InSight with Praveen Puram straight from Atlanta. As you all know, this informative sessions, the video podcast which we make is mostly for Indo-American community, and the guests all are achieved in their roles or from any of the roles they are working with. And definitely this will be a key session where you will learn from the guests who are on this show from their experience. And I encourage you to, subscribe, watch on the every weekends which I conduct. And today our esteemed guest will be Anil Patel. Good morning, Anil. Thank you so much for joining.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So the topic today would be State Attorney General. So Anil is the Assistant Attorney General for the state of Georgia, under the guidance of current Attorney General, Mr. Chris Carr. She has been working with the office since 6 years and is part of the Commercial Transactions and Litigation Division at the AG's office. She is she also is part of the Indo-American community. And thank you so much, Anil, again for joining us. And we are definitely interested to know more about the Attorney General office. So why don't you introduce yourself more about your journey as an attorney and also part of the State Attorney General office?
Sure. So I actually attended Mercer Law, and I graduated in 2016, and I sat for my bar at the end of 2016. I was certified and passed the bar in October of 2016, and I joined the AG's office in July of 2017. And so since then, I have been a part of the AG's office, and happily so. I serve, like you said, under the guidance of the 55th, I believe, AG, who is Mr. Christopher M. Carr. And I think he assumed office to fill a vacancy, at which point he was appointed by Governor Nathan Deal at the time. And the only reason he was appointed at that time was because he was finishing off the term for a previous AG. And since then, he has been re-elected twice, I believe in 2018 and 2022. So it's a 4-year term. And in a lot of states, they put a limit on the amount of terms that you can have and the amount of consecutive terms you can have. Georgia is not one of those states, so he can be reelected. For the past 2, he has been, and he is the incumbent. So, of course, we won't be seeing a general election until 4 years since 2022. I'm sorry?
Excellent, I said.
Yeah. And so he is the current AG, and we serve, and when I say we, I mean me and all of the other assistant attorney generals. And of course, I'll go into the structure and explain to you other titles that are also part of our office, but all of us essentially serve under the AG's guidance. And so the AG's office as a whole is responsible for mainly providing opinions on legal questions that are concerning the state. So because there's so many current affairs and things that happen around the state in so many different subjects where there are laws written in our Constitution and overall that the legislator passes, but it's very important that the interpretation of the law is exactly how the state essentially functions, and that's how you enforce the laws. That interpretation on a state level comes from the AG. And so we have official opinions and unofficial opinions. And the great thing about those opinions being enforced and being available to the public is the fact that you would be reading, if you go on the AG's website, which is law.georgia.gov, you will see all of the opinions that have ever been published by the AG, all of the AGs that have been here, official and unofficial. And so we generally provide those opinions whenever we're given questions from other state agencies about how to enforce a certain thing, or if they're confused about a certain thing, or like there always seems to happen, there's always conflict in the way that that the law is either understood, written, or practically enforced. So that's mainly where the AG comes in. Now, outside of that, we also try cases here. We also look into research and whether a certain law on a certain topic is still standing, it has been overruled, this, that. That is a part of my general practice every day. But everyone at the AG's office together will do the following as just a broad spectrum of across the board. What we do would be we prosecute public corruption cases. We oversee contracts on behalf of the state. So anytime you name the state as a party to any contract, which generally seems to happen in land that is owned by the state. And so I personally work a lot with the Department of Transportation. So we see a lot of contract work there, a lot of real estate stuff there. We represent the state in civil matters as well. That generally happens from a civilian's perspective or from another, I don't want to say exactly an entire agency, but that generally happens from pro se plaintiffs. And if they ever sue the state and they name any public official, any state official, the governor, judges, this, that, anyone that works under the color of the state, that would be something that we defend. So we would be going on behalf of a state agency, a state official, the governor, you have it. So that would be on the civil side. Generally, our office will not initiate a claim unless we are requested by the governor to do so. We generally don't initiate civil or criminal actions on behalf of the state of Georgia. We're generally on the defending side. But along with that, in all capital felony appeals, that would be something that our office is a part of. And in all cases appearing before the Supreme Court of the United States, where the state of Georgia would be involved, would definitely be represented by the AG himself. So our current AG, I could tell you a little bit about what he focuses on. Since having taken office since 2016, he's made it a priority to combat human trafficking, which is obviously an issue that we face not at a state level, but globally as well. Gang-related activity in crime. Opioid misuse has been a huge part of his focus, and elder abuse, which is a issue that's not given as much light as it should be, not just in this state, but overall. And consumer fraud, which I don't even have to tell you that as we are on the internet and as we are globally and everything is available at the click of a button, you need somebody to look out for what not to allow and what not to get taken advantage of the public and the constituents that live in your state. So he has made those 4 or 5 things his main goal as he has been serving the state of Georgia. And a little bit about our structure. So right under the AG,
Colonel, I want to pause here. I
Sure.
would like to, before AG, I just wanted to ask you, what made you, I wanted to ask your journey. When did you come to States and what made you to choose law as your profession? Right? Most of our Indo-American community, they are into IT or, doctor. That's the perception they come from. So I want my viewers to understand what made you choose law and what are the opportunities you see.
Sure. So I came to the States when I was 11, I believe. And my dad, he still works with this firm, the Tripp firm. And he's always worked with this firm since we have been in the United States. We used to live in California before. And that's a CPA and attorney firm. So right at a young age, I was around a lot of attorneys. And that was something that whenever we went on office retreats or anything, that I would be in conversation with attorneys. And it was really awe-inspiring the way they carried themselves and the way they spoke, just even generally. But namely, I have a mentor, and he's no longer with us, but he has had a very deep influence on my life. And he was part of the Indian Air Force, and he served the country for about 30 years, I think. And he studied to be a lawyer while he was still serving in the Indian Air Force. And really, it was his stories and his guidance and his outright, one day we went on an office retreat and he said, just off of the minor arguments and the back and forth banter that we were having, he said, "You're going to be a lawyer." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Yes." And so here we are. But if you've known me as I've been growing up, it would make complete sense to you that I would be a lawyer. It's just something that's fitting to my interests and my personality, and really the kind of leaders and mentors that I generally read or follow just happen to have a legal background as well. So that's how we got here.
That's good to know because your family is into this. So definitely you will have an influence. That's great
Yes,
to hear.
absolutely.
What are the good colleges or the universities in Georgia across the states? What do you, from your journey, you might have thought that these are the universities I wanted to study, or what is your recommendation? Which are the good universities in state and the states?
So as far as choosing a university that you want to go, I personally went to Georgia State University for my undergraduate, and I did my bachelor's of philosophy and bachelor's of religious studies there. But then I went to Mercer Law, which is a private law school. And either one would have been fine. I enjoyed my time at Mercer Law. It's similar things that you learn. Of course, the universities themselves will tell you their positives and what you get versus another one. I don't have a preference. I think that as long as it's accredited law school, and the main thing that I would look at would be each law school on their website has the percentage of their students that get legal careers or jobs right off the bat as soon as they pass their bar exam. You want to look at that rate, and that might practically be more important to take into consideration as opposed to factors about where it's located and what you want to follow and what kind of practice you want to do and which one would you. Looking at it in hindsight, I don't think it matters so much whether it's public, private, and what kind of professors that are there, and if your friend is going there or not. What's going to matter is that and it's skipping my mind exactly what they call it. They have a category that they mention, but really, essentially, you want to see the law school's ability to get you into the legal careers as soon as you can, because that's essentially what you went to law school for. So that's important.
Absolutely. So what profession or specialty you have chosen like civil, criminal? What is your specialty?
So I will say, under the 9 divisions that we have at the AG's office, I am part of the commercial transactions and the litigation division. And there's 3 different sections in that division itself. But I'm part of the real estate, the constructions, and the authorities section. So what all of that is civil. It's real estate matters. It is a lot of land and condemnation issues. Like I said, for the DOT, whenever, in layman's terms, whenever the government is going to need to expand on land for public projects, such as highways and roads and sidewalks and such, the entire process that goes through where you as obviously a property owner have rights. And so the state juxtapositioning its rights of, making sure that the public projects are there to enhance the residents of Georgia, that juxtaposition with your own property rights, that's not something that is supposed to be trampled on just because there is a greater egalitarian purpose, if you will. And so that's a big part of my everyday stuff. And we talk to property owners, we talk to people that deal with the agency itself, which is the Department of Transportation. Of course, there's processes to all of this. So we have to look at forms. There's obviously a lot of transactional paperwork. But along with the DOT, which is a lot of civil work, I also deal with the Department of Economic Development, which I don't know if you've had a chance to notice, but you being a media person, I'm sure you'd be quite interested in the fact that they call Georgia, or especially Atlanta now, the little Hollywood outside of the Hollywood, because there's so many things that are being filmed here. And if you notice all the new movies coming out, you'll see an Atlanta background or a Georgia background. Or if you see a Georgia logo at the beginning of the movie, there's a little peach and the two. It's the same logo that's on our website and on the GDEC website, which is the Department of Economic Development. They are supposed to be maintaining and managing this tax credit that is given to projects that are supposed to be filmed in Georgia. And so you get a certain amount of tax break filming here, and that entire office oversees a process of going through the applications, which ones to grant, deny, to look through, everything down to the staff and the principal of photography, this, that, and that office itself tries to make sure that there's a lot more jobs that are created for Georgians as part of all these projects that are coming over. So we help oversee that. We help oversee the transactional side to that. If there is ever any sort of issue that has to do with complaints from the developers or directors or project side, that would be something that we defend the state and the agency on. And we do get those plaintiff pro se cases where they will ask or raise questions about the Georgia law that is applicable to a certain project. So that's where I get a lot of my day-to-day work. And I also work with the Department of Community Affairs, which looks at a lot of Section 8 housing and housing for low-income families, and they have several other projects that go on and programs that go on, which are federally funded. And so the state is also in charge of and actually almost responsible for distributing these federal funds that are passed down, which of course are good for the residents of Georgia, but whenever you're given that, there's a certain sincerity that you follow the funds through, and you try to make sure that that's not something that is harming the state, but rather helping the communities and every last person that's in need in the state of Georgia. So
that's good information, Anil. And
yeah.
coming to the structure, AG structure,
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about the AG structure and all the elected positions and how they are organized? How do you fit into that? Is
Sure.
your an elected position? So that's sort of a clear idea. If you can give the viewers, that would be a great.
Sure. So, like I said, we have the Attorney General, and then we have an executive office, which comprises of the Attorney General, the Solicitor General, who is the second man in charge, his right-hand man, and the Deputy Attorney General, the Chief Deputy Attorney General, who oversees the other Deputy Attorney Generals. Each Deputy Attorney General has a division under him. We have 9 divisions. Like I mentioned, I'm part of one of the divisions that is commercial transactions and litigation. And there's 3 sections in our division. We have tax and real property and constructions and authorities, which I'm a part of, and business and finance. And so I fit in right under that division. I do a lot of work that has to do with, like I explained in layman's terms, but overall just business and financial and property interests of the state of Georgia, and general representation of the state agencies and authorities that I mentioned. We also work with Georgia Department of Revenue, State Road and Tollway Authority, and these are the ones that I personally work with. And so a little bit about, of course, the AG's position is elected, but all the AAGs, who are the Assistant Attorney Generals, we all go through a similar process of being hired. And the first person that reached out to me here was my section chief. So that would be the person that is heading the real estate constructions and authorities section. And you go through an interview process with them. It's a 3-round interview process. So that's your first round. The second round was with the Deputy Attorney General, who oversees my division. And the third round is with the AG himself, and either the Solicitor General or the Deputy Attorney General will also be there. So I went through those 3 rounds. It's great. The third round, I didn't expect it, but the AG asked me to ask him questions instead of the other way around, which was fantastic and really a breath of fresh air. So, and since then, I've been here.
Absolutely, that's great to know. Congratulations. And Anil, you said 9 different
9 divisions.
Right? Can you name them if you remember?
Yes, absolutely. So the first division will be the operations division, which overlooks the administrative aspect of everything in our office. The second division is regulated industries and professions division. And they do a lot of False Claims Act cases, natural resources and regulated public interest cases, licensing board work. Then the one that I mentioned I'm a part of is the commercial transactions and litigation division. And then there's a criminal justice division. Now, this is the one that you were asking me about, the criminal side to it. This is the one that represents the state of Georgia in those capital felony appeals and in death penalty cases and such that are imposed. Also part of all of the public safety cases and any of those public issues that come up regarding post-conviction litigation and such. Then we have the general litigation division, which this is more of that civil lit that people like to refer to it as, which deals with the civil rights of the residents of Georgia and the residents of the United States overall. It deals with torts, which is the civil suits that are between people of the same state where there's a civil wrongdoing that's been done. And if you and I, one-on-one, we're suing each other and somehow the state was involved, that's where that would come in, where you deal with damages or property damages and such. And then workers' compensation cases, which are also something where generally if a person will sue whichever company or, a establishment that they work for, and there's any state laws that are involved under which that they're bringing the suit, then that's when we come in and we can look at that. And a lot of this, like I mentioned, has a lot of heavy influence on looking at the AG's opinions and where we fall. That to us is as important as a precedence of the case, because that's literally what the AG has read the law as. And so we try to consistently match up exactly how you enforce the law with that. And whenever we draft things and whenever we argue things, that's with that, having that at the back of our head, that, you know, this is where our office stands on that. There's also a government services and employment division that deals with the election ethics, the open records and open meetings requests. Open records and open meetings, I think it's just worth mentioning here that everything that is kept as a record as part of government functions or as part of government agencies is something that you can, as an individual who lives in the state, who you can file an open records request, and you can receive forms and anything else that you filled out that the state would have access to, given if you need it, given if you have a matter that involves it. So that's something that is nice for the residents and the individuals to know, that these are your materials, as much as we as in the state keeps track of them. But you know, this is your information, and all you have to do is file a open records request. Of course, there's very detailed instructions on how to do that on our website, and just generally if you Google it, but it's available. And I'm not sure how many people know that, but that's your information. You have claims to it. So sorry.
There is a lot of information, but
Right.
definitely everyone will not go to that site and look. People only when they need, they go.
Yeah.
The main intention of this particular show or the live video podcast is to bring awareness. At least people who listen to that, they know that there are 9 different areas where the Attorney General works on and which you belong. Looks like you are very, very associated with the community, especially in the real estate, transportation, and also the business.
Yeah.
Business. So that's very, very important, and all the viewers should understand that you know more on these laws, and if anyone wants any suggestions, recommendations, you're always there. So that's very fantastic. And how is your role? Is it stressful because you deal with the government, public sort of things? How is your role? Is it smooth or is it stressful, Anand?
Day to day, it is, I won't say it's stressful. I will say that everything that comes across my desk is not anything like what I will have seen the day before. Every day it's a different issue. We can kind of, the only common factor that we have is the agencies that send it to us. But besides that, the issues and the cases and the people involved and the minute details are very, very, very different from any case I will have seen. So I'm never bored. Everything is, I'm learning on the go. Everything is just like you would access something and not know exactly where the state falls on it. We research it. We make sure that we're current with it. And because it's so different, that my practice is different, it's not the same forms I'm filling out. It's good. It keeps you on your toes. It keeps you, like I said, current. You don't want to get into the stale habit of, well, this is how it is, and this is exactly how we've been doing it, and that's all there will be. I will say, since the time that I've joined the AG's office, there's so many people here who are and have been serving, the state of Georgia in their positions for about 20, 25 years. And even they'll tell you that nothing is the same.
Absolutely.
So that's great. So I won't say it's stressful. I'll say it's exciting and it's new and it's different every day. The great thing about the fact that I am a government state attorney is that we become, and as opposed to, I'm only comparing this to private sector, to people who either work in the small or mid-sized firms that do a specific type of legal work. I will say that as a government state attorney, you have a broader spectrum and you have more variety in your work. And dare I say, you also get in the big boy type of cases because of the simple fact that if the state is named and if the state officials are named, what you're saying and what you're filing with the court, and really even any court's expectations of you are quite high, and you keep that standard. And so that's something that is reiterated to us, and it's very clear that anything that is filed or any argument that's made by somebody that associates themselves to the Attorney General's office is something that is scrutinized and public, actually. And you need to be careful with how you phrase and how you say things, as opposed to somebody that would be able to go and be a pro se plaintiff and really make any facts and states of the case. It's just how it is. We are held to a higher standard and a higher almost ethical ground because we're supposed to know, and because, of course, we represent the state and therefore the residents of the state. So.
Absolutely. Now, the next question, common question.
Mhm.
Are you the only one from the Indo-American community in the AG's office, or you have many more?
I am at the Georgia AG's office. I am the only female. I have one more Indo-American counterpart, Mr. Alkesh Patel. He is also actually surprisingly part of my division, but I don't believe anybody else in our office from the other, I want to say about 100, 120 AAGs. I don't think that anybody else is of Indo-American descent.
So
Not yet,
in this 120, it's a matter of like 1% or 2% what you are.
Exactly.
So you feel comfortable, the respect and everything is the same as the others, because this is mostly public dealing. So how do you feel being in this 120 people? So the support, the interactions were good, or you feel out of place?
I feel completely at home. I do not feel like I'm the first female of Indo-American descent who is part of this office. I have never been made to feel that way. Everyone's been quite welcoming and quite, it is really, truly a team effort here. I've never had to go to my superiors or really even my counterparts and have left their office without some sort of guidance or some sort of let me help you out. And that's really good to see. I know that you may not expect it in the government sector, having the media and having overall just what we consume every day being discriminatory or something that's alarming or something that seems like, oh, you might feel out of place or off or anything. Really personally experiencing it, I don't feel the discrimination. Really personally experiencing it from 2016, 2017 until now, I don't feel like I'm any different. I don't feel like I belong to a different community from the community that these guys are serving from. In fact, there is quite a bit of diversity in the people that are serving here. We do have people of Asian descent. We do have people of obviously African descent. We do have people, from all over the world, which, of course, when I interact with them and stuff, the fact that I don't know exactly where they might be hailing from is, I think, a strength of not just this office, but generally any government office, because I think everybody comes with their own set of beliefs and values and viewpoints, but your ability to work together is going to be the thing that makes the difference at the end of the day. Not the fact that you're different, it's the fact that you're part of a team. So
I'm glad to hear that, and that gives more confidence to the community as well. The next question would be, you are being brought up with your father, because being in this industry, and he has always been a private owned firm, and now you are working for someone, that too for the government. Mm-hmm. What do you see the difference? And from the financial perspective, the private industry, owning a private company is good, or working for a job? So what do you think the differences from the experiences and the financial perspective?
So since I haven't experienced the private sector at all, and I obviously haven't in the legal field, I did very minor work for the first 6-7 months when I was waiting for my bar results to come back, and before I joined the AG's office, I was doing consulting work as a lawyer for a domestic relations and family law firm. That's about as much. That's about as much experience as I have with the private sector side. So of course, I don't think I would be the expert to be able to give that opinion. If you were to talk to my dad, I'm sure he would have a different opinion, and sure he'd have something to say because he's mostly practiced on the private side. I personally really appreciate the fact that I am exactly in the governmental position that I'm at, because it frees you from that personal, that view that you always keep at the back of your head of your personal benefit, and where you keep wanting to excel at a personal level, and you want to stand out at a firm, and you want to stand out at your job, and you want to be different, and you want to climb the corporate ladder, so to speak. Not that there isn't so much growth in the government sector or anything. I just think that because of the fact that it's very clear to you that you are a public servant and you are serving the residents of Georgia, you almost put that me factor at the back of your head, and you don't keep that in the front. And not just to the practice of law, but overall the practice of any career, I think it's very important that you keep a larger view of the world than you do of yourself. So
that's a good perspective. Your me factor keeping back as a public
yeah.
sector, that always is very, very humble and simple, Anand. And the other question is, being a female and you are in the public sector, and that too in the attorney, right? So you have to deal with a lot of ifs and buts, and going across hunting for your research on any of the litigations put. So how do you feel being a female attorney? You think it's easy, or you will have challenges every day?
Me being a female doesn't really add to my challenges. I think had I not been, and had I not been of the American descent, like I said, I don't think the challenges would be any more. I think the clients that I've talked to, the people that I talk to at the state agencies and everybody, is they see past what you identify as. It's not so important where you identify, it's more important what you're talking about. My challenges would have stayed the same had I been of any other descent, and had I been a male, for example. So and that's a very good thing, I think, and that's not so much a reflection of myself or how I'm taking it, really. I think that's a reflection of the community that I'm part of, and the office that I'm part of, and the people that I speak to every day. And so that's that. One of the things I would like to add is, in law school, when we were really learning litigation and how to practice and such, one of the most important things that a law professor told me was, you think that you talking to another lawyer, or you talking to somebody that's a big deal, that's the head of something, will be the thing that turns or changes the outcome of the case. I'll tell you very clearly, it's the support staff, it's the clerks at the court, it's the people that are doing work with you that are going to change that. It's not going to be the position that changes the outcome of your case, or the outcome of your practice, or overall how your day goes as a lawyer. It's everyone that you work with. And so I don't want you to overlook the people that are simply stamping your pleading and filing it, because I'm telling you, the timeage on when that's supposed to be filed is more important almost than the arguments that you've written in your pleadings, because it's only going to be looked at by the judge if you file it on time. So that was a very important piece of advice in the legal field. And I think I also carry that for the rest of my tasks in my personal life and everything, because we often only want to talk to or speak to people who are going to make a difference. You don't know. exactly who it is that's going to make a difference. So you want to keep the accessibility and your mind open so that anybody can get through. And I've seen it in the last 6-7 years of practice. You'll get help from unknown places that you didn't even expect. So
I agree that. And in the 6 years or 7 years of your journey, do you have any memories of the toughest case what you have dealt with, or something you have achieved in this 7 years of your tenure?
I don't know about toughest. Memorable, like I said, there's so many different things that cross my desk that it's not so easy to decide which one was this and that. But I will say that there was a matter that went on for several years for me. And like I was mentioning, that you can get help from anywhere. The system at the courts, when you file things, sometimes you file by the volume, and there's a different system as to whether you upload it on a CD or this or that or anything. During the time that I was working on that case, somehow on that same case, I had to figure out how to produce like thousands of pages on a CD, and I had to actually send it over and run it to the court and such. But within that same case, I had to use this machine that isn't even in use anymore, that you use to bind your pleading that you present to the court. You were supposed to bind it through the old holes. I don't know if you know, like there's a whole section and then the little plastic. We didn't have those ready-made, but we have the machine down here in the same building I'm sitting in on our first floor. And my paralegal and I went there, and it took us an hour to figure it out, but we figured it out, and that was the thing we learned of the day. So experiences like that is what makes it special, is what makes it different. I understand that those experiences are not like your regular run-of-the-mill day-to-day legal work that you do, but it's that keeps it human, and it's that keeps you, in the perspective that I'm here to do this job that serves a purpose for the state and for the residents of Georgia. I'm not just here so that I could make my life easier. I could file this as quickly as I can, and I find somebody else to do that job. So, and that's something that I was taught, not just as my upbringing, but that's something that is also reiterated at this office, where everybody will pick up a job, help you out, whatever their position title might be. They're more than happy to figure even a simple machine that spirals your notebook on. So that's been memorable.
So tell us something more about the organizations, right? There is so many nonprofit organizations very specific to your job role. Like, for example, doctors have the Indo-American groups. Similarly, do you have any Indo-American organizations where you bind all the attorneys together?
So through our office, we wouldn't, but I know that I myself am part of chapters of SABA, which is South Asian Bar Association. These are all bar associations that have been founded, together with the attorneys that are practicing in Georgia that are of South Asian descent. And you also have the ABA, which is the American Bar Association, which you become a part of when you certify and when you pass your bar. We have those, and SABA is not the only one. There's several other ones. There's GAPABA, which is I think a Pacific Asian Bar Association. And so there's lots of different chapters and lots of different bar associations. They themselves do socials, networking events. They essentially do the work that you're doing, Praveen, which is bringing people together and getting the resources out and making sure that the community knows who their point of contact is if you need something. So we do use each other's expertise. I do know of people and have friends who are part of the Salva chapter who, you can pick up a call and say, listen, I can't take this, but I have a friend who needs help. Can you? And they generally do. So that's a good community resource that we have as lawyers.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. And the last question would be something like, for example, if you see a simple Indo-American or the NRIs who are on visas living in this country, mostly petty things like HOA, or you purchase something happens. These are the very minimal. If you see the community, Indo-American community, very less percentage will be in the criminals and all those kinds of petty cases. If anyone wants, for example, if I'm living in a community, there is an issue in HOA, right? So how do you deal with that to the attorney? Because you know that attorneys are very expensive. And we also know that there will be state attorneys where the government will be provided where we can take. So do you have any such recommendations, advices whom we can reach out to?
So I don't have personal contact information for those people, but if you, I'll give you this much information. Every lawyer that, whether it's a private sector or a government sector, every lawyer tries to do some amount of pro bono work, which is work that they don't charge for. I'm sure you run into something that you don't understand that is contract or some sort of dispute. If you either search on Google or if you know lawyers that are there, quite honestly, you can go up to them and say, hey, will you do this as a pro bono thing? Will you just look at this for me? Generally, anytime I've gone to my friends, they've never really said no. Of course, it's a profession. Of course, they're there to make a living. Of course, all of that. But something that is taught to us and something that we keep at the back of our head, whether you're in a government position or not, is the law of the land, is very powerful. And we wear a certain amount of responsibility as lawyers as part of the profession that we're in. And we literally do take an oath when we get sworn into office that you uphold the state constitution and you uphold the US Constitution, and that you're here to help the people. And in furtherance of that, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to look at it, more than happy to help you, given the fact that they have time from their caseload. So I will say that.
Absolutely, Anil, because the reason I am asking this question is most of them approach me that, this HOA is creating problem, that HOA is creating problem. And there are some, racial comments happening here and there. And I feel helpless sometimes where to go, because the community is scared of hiring a lawyer, because when you get a lawyer, you might have been quiet and pay that $200 or whatever, but if you go to a lawyer, it might extend to $5,000, $6,000. So people are scared. So I'm always thinking ideas where, we'll have someone who can give an advice, whether it is petty case, not to go into that route, or, be happy with what you have. So that sort of suggestions, definitely we need in the community. And
I will, sorry to cut you off. I will say in terms of simple questions or questions that are legal related, our office does have a hotline, and you can call the AG's office for any, personal or state level issue, especially the state level issues. Now, we're not supposed to, and we're not authorized to give you legal advice, because if we're the state lawyer, we can't be your lawyer. That creates a conflict for us. But of course, we'll point you in the right direction. I know that we get these calls every week. I get 2 or 3 calls of people not knowing which direction to go in. And we can point you in a direction. We just can't give you that legal opinion or such that you're looking for. Outside of that, I'm a resource. If anybody needs it, I'll be more than happy to point you to friends and to certain practices that my friends are a part of if you need that kind of help. But that's what I have. Outside of that, Google.
Absolutely. So how frequently you interact with your AG and the deputy AGs? Do you have a chance to interact with them?
Yes. How frequently? We run past each other. We all park at the same parking lot. I've run past the AG in the last week at least 2-3 times, and you make, regular talk and banter. He's very personable. You don't have this curtain almost of hierarchy so that you don't pass it or anything. They talk to you just like a coworker would talk to you. We run into the deputy attorney general, they're just walking by the halls and they'll pop into your office for simple things or just to see how you're doing. It's very not rigid like that in terms of hierarchy. So, and we get FaceTime often, and we have meetings that are set up with the section chiefs and the division heads for what the office is into and what the updates are every 2 weeks.
Excellent. And how do you, what is your suggestion to the youth to come into the law? Because I being in media, I hear the numbers like, there are more doctors, but not attorneys across the US. Considering the number of attorneys we have, and from the Indo-American community exclusively, I see that there are less number of attorneys. So what is your suggestion for the youth to come into this path?
So some of us are lucky, like myself, who have a calling for this. But, if you're interested in it, and if you in a legal career or a political career, if you're interested in it, and if it's something that's come across your head more than 2 or 3 times, it's worth looking into it. And you should go through up till the final step of you being a practicing lawyer. Because when I was in law school, there was a lot of stories and things circulating about how there'd be so many lawyers that go through law school, get certified, practice for a few years, and then quit the practice of law. To each their own. There might be a different calling for you, and whatever serves your higher purpose and your happiness is probably above everything else. But I will say that history's been witness to the fact that a lot of our leaders and a lot of revolutions and a lot of movements and change, those guys all have that common denominator of either being in a legal career or any other sort of influential political spot. And so I don't exactly know why that is the common denominator, but I'm willing to bet that it's the way that you carry yourself. It's the way that you speak. It's the fact that they teach you how to logically think, and it's going to law school really is learning another language, right? So it's not, even though you're speaking English, you're not exactly, and you'll learn that on first day, first class, and when you come out of that, generally 3 years later, and you speak a certain way, and you argue a certain way, and that you can't turn it off, because a lot of my lawyer friends attest to that, and a lot of my family members and friends will tell you, and I hear it maybe once a day, you need to turn your law stuff off, or you need to stop talking like a lawyer. If that is something that you look into, and I was one of the people who already had that personality and who enjoyed banter and argument and the logic of, how to phrase things and such. That's what got me here. But I want everybody that is considering a career in law to understand that that is something that you're not doing just for yourself. That I can't speak to other careers and professions, but if you're going to come into this profession, you want to come in with the thought that there is something bigger than you, that this is not just a living that you're making, that your word on a written paper matters because it's something that is being looked at and as part of the furtherance of the society that we live in, and the laws that literally and figuratively and practically govern us. You want to be up to that task. You want to be worthy of exactly what you're being put into, outside of what the public eye or the public perspective or opinion might be of the legal field. It's important that from the inside, what we were taught, and what we were taught is you're not in this just for your personal gain or financial this, that success. You're in this because there's a law of the land that governs all of us, and serves all of us, which is the more important part. And you're an officer of that law, and you govern yourself. So
I think that's a good way of putting that, and I agree with you, Anil. And as we are end of the hour, as a closing comments, what would you like to tell to the community, the Indo-American community? What's your message?
I would like to take this opportunity, since you are asking me at a free fall. I think we focus so much on the Indo-American aspect of what it is and what my identity is. And I understand that this is supposed to be reaching the Indo-American community. And as they are listening to me, I would like to say that it's about time. And if you've been paying attention to current affairs, and if you've been part of where you're living and where your current community is, whether that be anywhere in Georgia or anywhere in the United States, it's about time that you start having the Indo-American identity of yours to serve the overall identity of the country or wherever you're living. Our community is not where you live, and it's not defined by the borders that you can cross. It's as large as you can belong to, right? It's whatever you think of yourself. So if I stop myself at I'm an Indian, that takes the American identity away from me. If I stop myself at I'm an American, born, raised, educated, everything here, that takes away from my Indian roots. I want us to become global, because whether we choose to do that or not, our world has become global. We stay part of the conversation, and we stay current, and we stay influential only if we stay open and accessible to the overall community, which I'd go so far as to say humanity, right? And that's the primary community that you're a part of. I think as Indians, whether you're in America or not, as Indians that go to any country and settle there, I think our strength has always been what you are actually aiding right now, Praveen, which is that community effort and that community support that you get. I can speak about that overall for all Indians generally, because I am a daughter of an immigrant that came here, and I am an immigrant myself, having not been born and raised here, or born and raised in India. I've seen the support firsthand, right? You can call and talk to and knock at the door of a neighbor if you don't know anybody else in your community and you've just moved to somewhere where you don't see many. You can knock or talk to or call anybody, and they will help you. Not asking you your last name, not asking you where you come from in India, nothing. They just will. I've seen it. If we can extend that further, that's the one thing that would make us distinct, I think, and here for the long run, if you could do that.
Absolutely. One family, one world. That is
absolutely
that. I think thank you so much for the information, and I'm sure that the viewers might have learned about AG's office and how the AG office function and what are its rules and regulations, and how you are part of it, and what kind of work you do. And now we know more about this with this podcast, and definitely if we need any help, we will definitely reach out to you again. Sure. Thank you so much for having your time today, and good luck for your role.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Praveen. I'd just like to take a minute to say I'm really glad you're doing what you're doing, and it's very important for our community and for people who need the resources. I'm glad you're getting the word out, and keep up the good work. And I am honored to be here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all. Thank you.